now you're gonna die wearing that stupid little hat. How does it feel?
Got your ass.
Wait!
Blade of Nicola.
Ho, ho, ho. Hello boys and girls around the world. It is I, Uncle Santa Major. I heard that you have been very naughty this year, so I decided to prepare this Elden Ring build for you as a gift for Christmas. Yes, you heard me right, naughty. Because good boys and girls are boring and Uncle Santa Major here likes to mess around. No pun intended. In this video I'll be showing you a Christmas scene for the end of this lovely year of 2023. A beautiful year full of joy and love where humans finally learn how to live in harmony. Oh wait, what is that? Nephews, Harbinger is telling me that the Reapers won't be invading Earth in this cycle because we are already doing their job. We are going fast forwards. So get inside your nuclear bunker and get yourself a nice mug of hot chocolate. That is, if you live in the Northern Hemisphere, because right now, here, where I live is reaching 40 degrees Celsius every day, and that's why my microphone sounds like crap. And that's how I managed to record my voice and remove the fan noise as much as I could. Enough of this BS, and let's meet the tarnish of this video, Santa Claus. Get it? Get it?
I thought that was quite smart.
So let's start with the chapters that tell us a bit about this build. The idea here is to arm Santa Claus with 2 pairs of, wait for it, 2 pairs of claws.
I thought that was quite smart.
First, you are going to need just 1 pair of claws that will be your main weapon. You will add Code Affinity to it later on, and a second pair of claws can provide you with extra bleed damage if you wish so. Because Santa is from the North Pole, he brings the cold sorceries from the north to support him in battle against the satanic spawn imps of the lands between.
But, Uncle Major, actually Santa Claus is from the Finnish city of Rovaniemi.
My dear snare nephew, please, spare me. Where was I? Oh yeah, Santa Claus will start with a Dex Intelligence, and then mid-game is gonna be a switch for an Intelligence Arcane build. I will talk about it real soon. Overall, this is a strong build, not as good as my Scavenger running build, that you can check the info card being shown on the top right of the screen right now. That, it is a nasty build. I can say that even new players can try this build and have a good time with it. It works throughout all stages of the game, that means early, mid, and end game. But some items, especially Talismans, will take a while to get, but we'll be able to keep a Christmas theme around mid-game, I would say. It's better starting talking about attributes points now to remove any doubts when it comes to the items shown in this video. For this build there are 3 different stages you are going to take when leveling up your Santa Claus, and you will need to rebirth a Renala at least once. First stage is the Dexterity Intelligence path. You will be switching to a second one when around level 110 or 120, where you can go to an Intelligence Arcane path. The reason for swapping the Dexterity for Arcane is because the claws have bleed built into them by default, and we can take advantage of that by increasing the bleed build up even further. After all, bleeding is the most cheesy and broken mechanic in this game.
Which it is.
And third and final stage will be the Dexterity Intelligence Arcane. This one requires so much attribute points that I think it can only be achieved at New Game Plus 2. Go for this one right away if you are going to be using an already existing character with super high level, like around level 250. Anyhow, let's see the skills required for basic stuff like being able to wield the claws. There are 3 claws to choose, and the highest strength requirement for them is 10. So set your strength to 10 you won't have to deal with it anymore. The highest dexterity requirement from one of them is 15 points while other 2s require 14. After applying the minimum requirements for the weapons, I advise you to level up your vigor level and not worry too much about damage output yet because you are at the beginning of the game and low upgrade level weapons do not scale very well with attributes yet. The soft caps for vigor are 40 and 60. So first stop at level 40 and only continue leveling up this attribute later on when you have reached higher areas of the game. For endurance, the best way to know how much you need is to do a small math, so grab your phone, close TikTok for a moment and open your calculator to type the total weight of your items you have equipped, which can be acquired by simply looking here at the Reupload. Then divide this value by 0.7. This will give you the total equip load you need to carry all the stuff and say under 17% equip load and be able to medium roll. So slowly add points to endurance as long as you need them. In the end, the max endurance need for this build will be 22 if you follow the items shown here. Oops. You can also add some points in mind once in a while if you are using spells. Do not worry at the beginning for not having the spells I will be showing in this video. Use whatever you have in the meanwhile, but it is expected for the Santa Claus to be using only cold sorceries once you acquire them. When you reach around level 100 and 120 and having in your possession both glintstone and black wet blade, you can switch for the second stage of this build. Add the necessary 10 attribute points to your strength and 14-15 dexterity, 40 in vigor, and endurance needed to make you under 17% total equip load. Also, don't forget to add the amount of mind you consider ideal for the amount of focus points you have been spent to this time. Then what you wanna do is increase your intelligence to 50. That is the first soft cap for damage dealt by magic or cold infused weapons. After that, the next soft caps are 60 for sorceries damage and 80 for both weapons and sorceries. Now that you have the black wet blade and can infuse the second claw with your cold affinity, you should apply points to arcane. At least 40 points should be added to the stats that will increase both damage of the weapon and also increase the status effects build up, which in this case is bleed. The soft cap for arcanes are 60, 80 for weapons damage, and 40, 45 and 60 for status effects build up, so reaching at least 60 in arcane is a good call. And the first stage is simply going back and applying points into dex to get some physical damage for the claws and faster spell casting speed. Before doing that, make sure to achieve 16 points in vigor, somewhere around 30-40 in mind, 22 in endurance, 10 in strength, and 80 in both intelligence and arcane. That will be close to level 220, which means this mark will be reached near the end of New Game Plus or the beginning of New Game Plus 2. Now we know that the main attributes early in game are going to be dexterity and intelligence, and arcane comes to play later on. There are 3 options that fit these requirements, but I'm going to remove one, which is the Banned class. The reason is simple. It has higher arcane, but this stats will be only required later and it doesn't start with a staff. So we are left with 2 options, the Astrologer and the Prisoner classes, and they are quite similar in terms of stats. Biggest difference are the weapons and sorceries they start with. The Astrologer starts with a short sword, if you like to spread butter on bread, a shitty shield, the Astrologer staff, and 2 sorceries, Glintstone Pebble and Glintstone Arc. Glintstone Arc is really good at the beginning of the game. Prisoner starts with the S-Stock for those who like to poke stuff, another shitty shield, but at least this one have a small bonus on focus stat. The Glintstone Staff and the Magic Green Blade, which is another excellent sorcery, but you won't be using much of this anyways, nephews. So it is up to you which one you prefer. Like I always say, you can make any build with any starting class, but some classes bring quicker results to the desired goal. How about the weapons we are going using against the satanic spawn imps of the lands between? And the only weapons that Santa Claus needs are his claws. I thought that was quite smart. There are 3 claws that fits this build. It is up to you to choose 2 of them. They are extremely similar to one another that I don't think it's even worth talking about these minor differences. By the way, at the beginning of the game you don't need 2 different claws. That will be only required when switching for the Intelligence Arcane skill path. Let's start with the Hook Claws, which are my favorite visually for this build. They require 8 points in strength and 14 in dexterity. It uses smith stones to be upgraded and can be infused with Ashes of War. This claw can be looted from a corpse located at Stormvale Castle on this area of the map. That means you need to defeat Margaret. Margaret Thatcher. After dealing with them and gain access to the castle, you will see Gostok. I think that's how you pronounce his name, which is this not suspicious at all NPC. I advise you to take a secret passage to gain access to the inner parts of the castle. Follow his advice and go southeast through the cliffs that surrounds the castle, and not very long you will reach a site of grace called Stonevale Cliffside. From here, go up the wooden platform to the sides of the rampart. Don't go upstairs yet when you get inside. Instead, go under it to reach this area with a bunch of crates and barrels that is guarded by the Barrel Lover. At one of the far corners of this room will be the corpse with the hook claws as a loot. Second options are Raptor Talons. The requirements are 6 strength and 14 dexterity. I don't know why these weapons have this low strength requirements, because starting class with the lowest strength is the Astrologer with 8 strength, so I have no idea how someone would be able to wield this weapon. Anyway, all claws use smith stones to be upgraded, and also all of them can be infused with Ashes of War. These don't need a boss to be defeated to gain access to them, but you need to have a means to reach Altus Plateau. I recommend you to take both Dectus medallions that give you access to Altus Plateau through the Grand Lift of Dectus. The claws will be on a chest near the end of the Sage's Cave. You can rush for these claws once inside. There are a lot of secret walls that need to be hit or roll over to reveal the path forward. Once you see this lit area with a bunch of evil skellies, keep moving forward a bit more to find 3 chests. One of these contains the Raptor Talons. And the third and final claw option is the Bloodhound Claws. Requirements for these are 10 points in strength and 15 in dexterity. Like I said, they all require Smithing Stones to be upgraded and can be infused with Ashes of War. This one also can be acquired as early as you want to, but it takes some time to get to the Volcano Manor where they are located. And if that wasn't enough, you need to kill Bloodhound Knight to get them, and he's not friendly to new characters, one might say. To be more specific for those opting for this clause, this Bloodhound Knight is located behind the secret passage inside the manor. This time is actually a secret passage, by the way. Once you reach inside the manor, speak with Tanith for her to give the keys to access this room, where you can roll on the specific part of the wall to reveal the passage. When you see the knight, I recommend you to ignore him first and go just a bit ahead to reach the Prison Church Site of Grace. That will make your life much easier to get back to him if it happens for you to become some sliced pickle. And let's take the chance that we are talking about weapons and see which are the Ashes of War that will fit this build. You nephews that watch my previous videos know that I like to keep the theme of the build. So for the Ashes of War, I kept the North Pole Popsicle theme rolling. There are only 3 Ashes of War that do frostbite attacks in some form, and I'm not talking about Affinity here. And 2 of them, Ice Spear and Chilly Mist, do not work on claws, leaving us with only one option, the Horde Froststone. Overall, this is a good Ash of War, used to be super broken when the game was released. On use, the caster creates an area of effect in front of them that creates a reasonable damage and frostbite build-up. Effective against large groups of lesser enemies, and especially the ones vulnerable to frostbite. You can also cast behind some cover, because Horde Froststone can go over objects if they're not tall enough and there's an open on top of them. That means cast behind the walls, only the open part of the wall, like the corner or doorway, will go through. It is not hard to acquire this Ash of War, and it can be as soon as you want to. It is located at the spawn at the Union of the Lakes. Once you reach there, you will notice the Pure Giga Jet Trail glitter, left by an invisible teardrop scarab doing a specific fixed path. It is a really big scarab, so it's easy to hit it. On death, it will give you the Horde Froststone Ash of War. If you want, you can get another Ash of War like Impaling Thrust, Repeating Thrust. As long as you set the affinity to cold whenever it's possible, it is all good, man. And with your Ash of War acquired, you now must set the correct affinity. Horde Froststone Ash of War already comes with the cold affinity by default, but in early stages of the game you want to set the affinity to King. That's because it expects of you to have more attribute points in dexterity than intelligence early in game. So what you're going to need is the Iron Wet Blade, which is the item that allows you to set the affinity to King, Heavy, and Quality. Iron Wet Blade is located inside the Stormvale Castle, behind a fog of war that requires a stonework key to open it. It is near the Grafton Scion patrolling a hall. Look for the fog of war in one of those rooms adjacent to where the Grafton Scion is. Passing through the fog wall and down the stairs you'll find a wet blade on a corpse guarded by 2 knights. And you might be thinking, where's the code infusion this weapon? And to answer that, you will be using the Frozen Armament Sorcery, which I will talk about in the Magic Spell chapter. After you reach a reasonable high level intelligence, that means stop using Reddit, Twitter, and especially TikTok, you can set the affinity of your claws to cold, which will add frostbite build up to your weapon. You will need the glintstone weaponblade to be able to set the weapon's affinity to cold and magic. This item is located at Raria Lucaria. I don't know why, but every time I read Raria Lucaria, I can only think of a Khajiit from Elder Scrolls saying something like,
This one came from a faraway land to study sorceries at Raria Lucaria Academy.
Anyway, after defeating Radagon's Red Wolf, we will have access to this large area. Go up these stairs that are kinda broken, with a bunch of enemies, and look for this door with a virgin wizard cowering fear. Know that we are there to get the item that is near. Said item is in the corpse hanging from the balcony. Like I said in the attribute points chapter of this video, when you reach a second stage of this build, around level 110 or 120, you should have the Black Wet Blade and another pair of claws in your possession. The Black Wet Blade is located at Nokron, Eternal City. From the Ancestral Wood side of Grace, look south and jump to the edge of a building in front of you. Keep going, jump from build to build until you come across a build-like structure. Look for a corpse in front of an altar-like structure, which contains the Black Wet Blade. It allows you to set your affinity to poison, blood, and occult, which is the one we are looking for. And that's what you are going to do, set the second claw affinity to occult. This will make the damage scaling of the claws switch to arcane, and by doing so, we will also increase the bleed build-up caused by them. You can opt in for blood affinity, that will increase even further the bleed stats effect, but the damage will be lower. I prefer the extra damage over blood loss build-up, but you can do the latter if that's what you think is the best for you. Now it is time for the most anticipated chapter of this video, where we can choose between a bunch of armor sets, but almost none of them make a difference in this game. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Fashion Ring! Oh yes, so many armors, so many useless armors. Anyway, for this build let's make this Tarnish look like a Santa Claus. I came up with two options for this task, but I will be showing an early game option which is quite boring to look at, but I will have to take this task because it takes a while to get access to the other armor sets, and this early option is the Sage set. Santa will look like that he's been living in a rough economic crisis country in South America, because this shit looks bad. Really, we're looking for a Santa, but believe me, there is actually no armor combination that makes this character look like an old man that has slaves elves building wooden toys under his house. The Sage set is located inside the Stillwater Cave, Leonard Lakes. You need to look for this dark tunnel entrance inside the cave. We will see the armor set corpse dripping on a poisonous spawn, of course. But watch your surroundings, nephews, because this armor set is a trap set by some wannabe Batman. Now for the armors that I think fits better this theme of this build. First one is the Foreskin Noble Robe. Yes, just one chest piece. You might also wanna try with the Thematic Merchant's Chapeau. The rest you can look up for something that looks nice with the rest of the armor, maybe even the rest of the Godskin Noble set, but it's up to you. This chest piece is awarded after defeating the Godskin Noble located at the bridge leading to the Divine Tower of Liurnia. To gain access to this part of the map, you need to reach a certain point into Renne's quest line, where she'll give you the Carrion inverted statue that can be used at the entrance of the Carrion Studio Hall. The Nomadic Merchant's Chapeau is located at the Cathedral of the Forsaken. After defeating Sewer Mog, hit the altar behind the chest inside his arena to reveal a secret passage. Go down the stairs and cross the wooden beam and turn left to see a ragged tent. You need to aggro the enemy nearby to make him attack the tent with his flimsy flame. That will break it and reveal the Nomadic Merchant set. Now what I think fits best for the theme is the Fire Prelate armor. Not only is red, but also fatty, just like your mom. I mean, Santa. Unfortunately, this chest piece can only be acquired near the end of the game. When you reach mountaintops of the giants, you will come up with this area where you need to traverse this narrow bridge. At the start of the bridge there is a fire prelate that can be farmed for the entire set and his whip, but you are looking only for his chest piece for this build. Use the giant's mountaintop Catacombs Site of Grace as a starting point for your farming section. For the rest, I recommend not use any headpiece, and for arms and legs, the chain gauntlets and chain leggings match super nicely with the chainmail of the fire prelate armor. These two pieces can easily be acquired by buying from the Norman merchant Calais at Church Alley, located on Lingrave. And to finish this chapter, I would like to point out that the fire prelate located for the Lady, or Lade, I don't know how to pronounce it, in Mount Gilmere drops only the outer version of this chest piece that doesn't have the red cloth on top of the armor. Now let's see what are the talismans that can be used on this build. And a lot of them are actually kinda hard to come by. That is because it takes a while to get them and they are behind some very long NPC's quest line. So let's start with the ones that are easier to come by, but not necessarily in order of availability. First is the Graven Skull Talisman, which increases all damage dealt by sorceries by 4%. You can get it at
Radia Lucaria, yes.
just before Radagon's Red Wolf Arena. There is a shelf with no books that conceals a hidden passage. Hit it to reveal the passage, look for a ladder, go up, and then looking at the railings and search for an open on the sides that can be jumped over and leads to another secret passage. Next room will be filled with these mini jar rolls, and next to some giant crystals will be the talisman. The next one is the improved version of the Graven Skull called Graven Mass Talisman. This one that boosts the sorcerer's damage is 8%, and differs from a lot of other talismans where the basic and improved versions cannot be used at the same time. Both Graven talismans can. That means with both talismans equipped, the damage boost will be 12%. I'm going to be real here. These numbers are kinda lame, but sorceries are also lame sometimes, so whatever. Graven Mass Talismans can be looted from a chest at the Alpenaric Rise that is located at this shitty place called Consecrated Snowfield. Before going there empty hands to solve the puzzle, let me fill in with the details of this one. The puzzle is actually super easy to understand. All you have to do is make the imps around the tower to fight one another. The deal here is that they cannot damage one another, unless you go full United States of America and make them fight one another for your own gain. First and easiest way to do so is by attacking one of them with crystal darts. That will install the nuve on their system and make the imps go haywire. Second option is using a bewitched branch in one of them to install a crack trying to bypass the nuve from the imp system. Bewitched branch can be bought from this nomadic merchant near the Bellu Church in Leon of the Lakes. And third option, which is the chattest of them all, is by summoning the Fang Imp Ashes to make them fight the patrolling imps. You can buy the Fanged Imp Ashes from a nomadic merchant at the entrance of
Radia Lucaria Academy
for 2,000 runes. From the main Academy Gate Site of Grace, look at the Magic Gate East, but do not interact with it. Instead, go through it, all the way through this overgrown bridge until the end, where the merchant is. The last easier talisman to get will be the Winged Sword Insignia. The effect of this talisman increases your damage for each attack you land on the enemy. It has 3 tiers of bonus. For each tier, the increases in damage will be 3, 5, and 10%. Also, it's good to point out that the tiers start to decay after 1.5 seconds without landing any attack. It's pretty straightforward on how to get this talisman. It is awarded after defeating the boss at the end of Stillwater Cave, the same cave where the Sage Set is located. And the next talisman is the improved version of the winged sword called Rotten Winged Sword Insignia. This time the tier bonus are 6, 8, and 13%, also decays after 1.5 seconds. Now, when it comes to how to get this, is where the problem lies. It is one of the most time-consuming items to get in the game. It is directly connected to Millicent's questline, which is one of the longest, if not the longest, side quests in the game. Like my previous gutter runner video, where this type of talisman shown up, I'm going to have to tell you that if you don't know how Millicent's side quest works, you will have to look up for a video explaining how to do it, because it's quite long for me to add in here, and look how long this video already is. But in case in the future I make a video about this quest, that will be shown on the info card on the top right of the screen right now. Anyhow, what you're going to do is get the very end of her quest line, and when it comes to choose between assister and challenger, you're going to assist her, which is the golden mark on the floor. Do not worry if you fail, you can try as much as necessary to accomplish this task. But wait nephew, do not do that yet. What you're going to do is kill her first. And the reason is because there is another talisman linked to her quest line that is also needed for this build, the Millicent's Prosthesis. It works like the Winged Sword talismans, but the bonus are 4, 6 and 11%. Same time for losing tier levels of 1.5 seconds, and it also gives a boost of 5 points in dexterity. You can get the talisman at the end of her quest line by challenging her instead of assist her, but there is a much quicker and easier way to get it. Once you retrieve the Valkyrie's Prosthesis at the Shade Castle and give it to her near the Earth Tree Grazing Hill Site of Grace, she will leave you to the Windmill Village. You need now to defeat the Godskin Apostle on top of the hill and rest at the new Site of Grace. Doing so will make her to spawn very close to you where you can talk to her again. At this point you'll notice that she is wearing the Valkyrie's Prosthesis. That means that at this point onward you can kill her to get the Millicent's Prosthesis. This is the earliest form to get this talisman, but in every other place from now on where you see her wearing the Valkyrie's Prosthesis, she can be killed to obtain the talisman. This game is super douche when it comes to NPCs, a lot of them drops really useful items if you kill them, so don't blame me to tell him to kill her, blame this guy. Pay close attention for what I'm going to say now, nephews. If you are a new game, you are going to kill her to get the Millicent's Prosthesis first. The reason is you cannot stack Winged Sword Signia and Rotten Winged Sword Signia, but Millicent's Prosthesis does stack with these two talismans. Only at New Game Plus you are going to end up on her quest and assist her to get the Rotten Winged Sword Signia and replace the Winged Sword Signia with it. Is that clear? Good. Very good. Now to the final and another annoying talisman to get, the Magic Scorpion Charm. It increases magic damage by 12%, and by magic it means all sources of magic damage. So it isn't just locked to only sorceries, it can also come from the Claus that will be infused with cold attributes when you get the chance to do so. But this talisman also has a debuff that increases physical damage taken by 10%. But I find it not to be much of a problem, being the only debuff on physical resistance of this build, so don't let that discourage you. It is another item connected to a very long quest. This time is running and Preceptor Sylvis. Again, I recommend you to look for a video on both of the quest lines here on YouTube if you don't know how to proceed. But what I want to make it very clear is that you do not give the Fingerslayer blade to Rani before acquiring the Magic Scorpion Talisman. They will lock the possibility of acquiring it for the rest of the playthrough and only be possible to acquire it again on the next New Game Plus. His questline is super annoying because it requires some very specific triggers to progress through his dialogue. But when you finally give him the Ember Starlight that he asks, talk to him again for him to give you the reward. Because this guy is such a megalomaniac that he is drowning on his own drew and forgets to reward us. Next is a recurring talisman on my videos, the Lord of Blood's Exaltation, also known as the Loop. It increases all attack damage when blood loss occurs in the vicinity by 20%, including the case of players losing blood themselves. This damage bonus even applies to cast spells. Because the Claus have a default blood loss built into them, this talisman complements them nicely. This talisman is awarded to you after defeating the boss at the end of the Leyndell Catacombs, which is located inside the subterranean Shungrounds that is located under Leyndell Capital. Amazing. Oops, I almost forgot to say when to use the talismans and what combination. If you are going to be using the Claus, you should equip the Loop, Millicent's Prosthesis, Rotten/Winged Sword Signia, and Magic Scorpion Charm. When using sorceries, the combo will be both Graven Talismans, Magic Scorpion Charm, and the fourth option can be the Loop. Because if by any chance blood loss occurs by your melee attacks or from the Summon Spirit, which I will talk about real soon, the talisman will also boost your damage of the sorceries. Let's move on now to the topics of magic spells. In game, magic spells means everything that occupies a memory slot, so both sorceries and incantations are classified as magic spells. I just want to make that clear because the wording sounds like it is talking about only sorceries, which is in this case is true because this build only uses intelligence and not a single point is spent on faith. All of the sorceries have frostbite as a common characteristic amongst them. There are 5 for this build, and 3 of them will be available as soon as you defeat Knight Loretta at Carrier Manor. I mean, at least one, because others 2 require you to do some bullshit for Preceptor Sylvis. and another one is connected to Ranni's questline, and the last one is near the end of the game. The easiest to get is Frozen Armament. This sorcery applies Frostbite to the weapon to the opposite side of the staff casting it, requires 15 points in intelligence, and uses 1 memory slot. For how much does it increase Frostbite damage, you might ask? Does it scale nicely with the sorcery scale of the Staves? Nephews, this sorcery is really bad, like really bad. It is not like Dream Theater Vocals level of bad, but it still leaves a lot to desire. I am only showing it here because early in game it has its uses while you don't have high level intelligence to set one of your claws to code affinity. This sorcery only adds 63 frostbite build up. It is a fixed value, doesn't matter the intelligence level or the staff used. What you're going to do is have one of your claws affinity set to king, so you can buff them with this spell. When you reach a level intelligence that gives you a nice damage from the cold fusion, probably around 40, you ditch this shit. It is dropped by a teardrop scarab to the southeast exit of Royal Knight Cloretta's arena, here in Leonard Lakes. Moving away from that trash is the Glitstone Ice Crag. This will be your longest range attacks, require 15 points in intelligence and will occupy 1 memory slot. It uses exclusively the magic attack. I don't know how much because I did not find the formula that calculates it on the internet, but it does increase with the sorcery scale of Staves. The frostbite damage is a fixed value of 100. My only grudge with this sorcery is its range, which is really short for this type of projectile, but it is better than not having a ranged attack, that's for sure, and the frost build up is a nice bonus. You can buy it from Sullivan's at his tower after proceeding the first task of his quest. It will cost you 7,500 runes though. When together with Glintstone Ice Crag, the Freezing Mist will be available to purchase. This spell requires 21 points in intelligence to be casted and 1 memory slot. This will be your area of effect / area denial spell. It creates a mist that does not deal any damage apart from the frostbite buildup, which it does 120 per damage tick. Most enemies that stay inside this mist will get frostbitten. It works best against slow-moving enemies or defensive enemies like soldiers using shield. Use these spells as a farm to inflict frostbite before combat, so the enemy gets the debuff of 20% bonus in damage received from the frostbite before you engage in melee combat. Like I said, it will be available together with Glintstone Ice Crag and can be bought for 6,000 runes for Sullivan's. Next on the list will be Adula's Moonblade, a sorcery connected to Ranni's questline. It requires 32 points in intelligence to cast and uses 1 memory slot. This sorcery is really good, especially against larger enemies where you can hit them with both the swing of the projectile and the swing of the blade itself. I found out that this spell is quite effective against NPC enemies because they are really bad at dodging the blade swing and won't try to dodge the projectile. This time I have a formula for you. The blade swing does 1.33 times the sorcery scale of the staff plus 90 in frostbite, and the projectile does 1.89 times the staff sorcery scale, and the projectile does 1.89 times staff sorcery scale plus 35 in frostbite. To get it, you need to reach the very end of Ranni's questline. When you approach the Cathedral of Manocelis, a boss dragon will spawn, defeat it to get the Adula's Moonblade. And finally, the last sorcery in the list is the Zalmor Ice Storm. It requires 36 intelligence points and uses 1 memory slot. For me, the only downside of this spell is the time to cast it. The rest is basically a super version of the Freezing Mist. It creates an area of effect that deals magic damage over time and also 80 points of frost build up every tick. I replaced Freezing Mist with this zone after acquiring because not only does what the Freezing Mist does, but also inflicts magic damage to anyone caught in the area of effect. It can only be acquired later in game when you finally reach mountaintops of the giants at the Zalmor ruins. Look for a building that looks like a collapsed church in the middle of the ruins. There will be a corpse near a tower containing the Zalmor Ice Storm sorcery. I decided to add 1 more sorcery, so we will have 6 for this build. This one is a support one, the Terra Magic. This sorcery creates an area that boosts magic damage for 35%, and let me point out a little gimmick of this spell. This spell does indeed increase magic damage, but there is a catch. The damage is calculated when the attack hits the target. That means you need to be inside the area of Terra Magica for the bonus to count. So if you cast the glintstone ice crate inside the area and leave it before the projectile hits someone, there will be no bonus in damage. But if you cast outside the area and get inside before the projectile hits, the bonus will be calculated.
Fuck you!
To get it, you need to reach the end of Academy Crystal Cave, here in Leon of the Lakes. After defeating the boss of this area, there will be a lift just after the boss arena. Take it, and you'll bring it to a really high tower. Continue going forward, up the ladder, and you will see a chest that contains thematic. After acquiring it, you can fast travel away from here because there's no way out of this place, and there's nothing else to do. When it comes to staves, it will depend on which stage of the build you are in. Because the sorcerers used in this build doesn't have a specific staff that boosts their damage, the list of staffs is pretty much straightforward. First staff you're going to be using will be the one you started. I'm just kidding, or am I? Here's the deal, you could just use the staff you started, but it doesn't matter if it is the glintstone staff from the prisoner or the astrologer staff from the astrologer classes. You will need smith stones to upgrade them. I recommend you to use smith stones only to upgrade your Claus, because this game is cheaty when it comes to finding smith stones to loot around the map. So let us use the somber smith stones for the staves. And at the beginning of the game you can actually do something even better and get yourself a easy to loot staff that doesn't even need to be upgraded, the meteorite staff. All you need is 18 points in intelligence to use it, which you can reach super fast early on. The meteorite staff is really high sorcery scaling that gives intelligence builds a nice boost to sorcerers at the beginning of the game. But because it cannot be upgraded, it will eventually get outperformed by a lot of other staves when they start to get higher levels. It is quite easy to get this staff, all you need is to ride a lot of the horse until you reach the Aeonius One. At this area of the map there will be some ruins, look for one that appears to be a collapsed tower. Go in real quick, grab the staff and get out before the poison ivy flowers fuck you up. There are two staves you can replace the meteorite staff with. One of them is the Carrion Regal Scepter. It requires ludicrous 60 points in intelligence to be used. The reason for choosing this staff is solely because of the sorcery scale, which is one of the highest in game. Also during my tests, I discovered that you can continue using this staff even after switching for the intelligence arcane stage of this build, because at the max level you will have the same sorcery scaling as the albinaric staff that was supposed to be used on that second stage. The Carrion Regal Scepter is obtainable by trading with Anya at the Round Table Hold for the Remembrance of the Full Moon Queen that is awarded to you after defeating Renala. The second staff that you can pick to replace the meteorite staff is the Crystal Staff. The Crystal Staff requires 12 less points of intelligence, at 48. I recommend you to opt in for this one because it requires a bit less intelligence, can be acquired much earlier, without even the need to kill a boss, and is almost as good as the Carrion Regal Scepter. The difference in damage boost for both of them are so low, around 1 or 2%. I will say that these staves are identical in performance for this build, with the exception of a tiny detail. The Crystal Staff is 1.5 heavier than the Carrion Regal Scepter. That doesn't seem much, but it doesn't make a difference when it comes to the amount of endurance points you will have to invest. If the Carrion ended up being your staff of choice, you will need 20 points in endurance when combining the weight of all items for this build. The Crystal Staff, on the other hand, will require 22 points in endurance to avoid a heavy load in your total weight. So that is the reason why you have seen me using the Regal Scepter in this whole video. Wait, it will be up to you. Do you prefer a heavier but easier to acquire and achieve the stats requirement staff, or a lighter but heavier on attribute points that needs a boss kill? This staff is easy to acquire. It is located at a chest behind a hidden wall inside the Academic Crystal Cave, same place to get the thematic. The secret passage is just after opening a wooden door near this plant. For the Flasks of Wondrous physique, there are two crystal tiers that are crucial for this build. First one being the Magic Shrouding Cracked tier. As the name implies, this crystal tier boosts magic damage by 20% and lasts for 3 minutes. If you wonder which items in sorcery stacks, the answer is basically everything. That is because the bonus from the Flasks of Wondrous have their own category, so they don't overlap or get overlapped by other buffs. Quite the opposite, most of the times the bonus multiply with one another. Can be acquired relatively early in game. It is awarded after defeating the Earth Tree Avatar under the Spinal Tree at Leon of the Lake. And the second crystal tier you must acquire is the Thorny Cracked tier. This one works like the Winged Sword Talismans, give you more bonus in damage for consecutive hits. The tier bonus for this one are 9, 13 and 20%, which is kinda crazy. If you combine Thorn Crack Tier, Millicent's Prosthesis and Rotten Winged Sword Suinia, you can reach up to 15% in damage bonus. That's a lot of damage. So if you cast Glintstone Ice Crag inside the Terra Magica area of effect, using the Magic Scorpion Charm, Graven Skull, Graven Mass, and drink from the Flask of Wondrous containing the Magic Shrouded Cracketeer, you can reach up to 80% bonus in magic damage. If my voice sounds different, it's because I need to record this separately because I forgot. The Thorny Cracketeer is only acquired near the end of the game, unfortunately. It is dropped by this tree avatar you just saw me fighting. It is located at the consecrated snowfield here on the map. For the last chapter of this video, we are going to see which spirit ashes that fits this build. I looked really hard to find a summon spirit here. First I started looking for something that looks like a reindeer, then something like a tiny elves, and I think I got something here. The Vulgar Militia Ashes is the closest thing for slave elves that builds wooden toys in the cellar of an old man. That is actually kinda creepy when you think about it. And I have to say, they are not great, they are also not terrible. They can do the basic job of a summon spirit, which is taking aggro away from you. They behave just like their Vulgar Militia enemies you encounter throughout the game. Also inflict bleak damage to enemies. There really isn't much to talk about them. They do perform exactly as you expect them to. They are located inside Alzira Hero Graves at Altus Plateau. You need to reach a part on this dungeon where we encounter these pillars separating two chariots from ramming one another. Use these corpses to find the wooden beams that you can land on. Keep going, jumping from beam to beam until you reach this area with a bunch of basilisks. After defeating them, take the tunnel to the right and you'll find the spirit ashes on a corpse.
Hello there.
And there you have it, nephews. A Christmas theme for this Christmas.
I thought that was quite smart.
If you like this video and the corny jokes, make sure to leave a like. And if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing to your new favorite uncle. That would help me a lot. Also, no pun intended. I do not flood YouTube with a bunch of videos every single day as this platform wants me to, so my videos hardly show up on people's recommendation lists. I make these videos by myself and they take a lot of effort and time to get done, so I would be very grateful for any help you can provide. Do not forget to leave a full mug of tea or soda. I like cola soda. Before going to bed on this Christmas evening, maybe Santa Uncle Meteor will pay you a visit in this Christmas night to leave you a present. No pun intended. If you made it this far, let me know by commenting hashtag Margaret Thatcher. Lol. Thank you for all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Merry Christmas to you and Happy New Year. See you in 2024. And remember, hot chocolate and nuclear bunker.